Hello, 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 hello. Do I do something here? No. Okay, thank you. Good. So, you are a force. I was told that a few years ago. I was actually part of a leadership workshop, these ones that big companies are doing to think about your future, what you've done in the past, but how you can actually be a more productive and a more efficient executive. And this woman was an American woman doing the workshop, and she was all about, very loud, very coming to your face. And I was like, okay, I'm loud, I'm Greek, so this is a characteristic I have. And then when we had a one-on-one conversation, she said, Eleni, you're a force. And I didn't know what she was talking about because I didn't know how to perceive that, what it meant, and how to use it. So I just kept it on the back of my head for many years, and then I said, okay, let it be. And I can tell you, it's been just the last couple of years I found out how to put it together in a way I can describe it, articulate it, communicate it, and start looking to that with a different approach so I can know what this meant for me and what this means for other people. No. Where's my first slide? Sorry. Here. We talked about a lot of stereotypes and things happening in life. We have a lot of stereotypes, especially for people who have been born 30, 40, 50 years ago. The world has changed dramatically. And I have been, exposed to many stereotypical behaviors, but I will not stick to that because I made my choices. And my choices were not always good. Some of them were really bad. Some of them are great. Some of them, they just gave me a learning, but the choices were mine. And this is where I was trying to find myself, what I am, because when you're born and the moment you start talking, people are asking you, what are you? What you want to be? What you want to do in your life? And to tell you the truth, I had no idea what I wanted to be. It was impossible for me. The context I had was not so diverse, was not so rich. So my perceptions were very much reliant on what was my environment. So I didn't know what I want to do. I knew what I didn't want to do. So I was starting doing different things and saying things like, I want to be a dancer. I want to be a gymnast. I want to be an entertainer. I want to be someone to go around and travel. Every time I was seeing something, I said, I want to be that because it actually inspired me. It actually made me feel very nice. And as one of my friends say, when you're happy, you're in the best situation in your life and you're the most creative. So I was doing all this kind of stuff. And at some point I said, there are so many things I want to do and to be, which means I'm not one thing. So let's see how this can actually resonate, not for the others who may not understand what I'm talking about, but for myself, so I can feel confident that whatever I say, if it makes sense to me, it makes sense for the other. And this is where I will try to take you through a short journey where you can actually identify what you want to be and how to find your own force. Sharing a very small experience from my life where I really did a big shift in my career after 30 years in corporate world and different kinds of leadership roles. I decided to move out and focus on things that have to do with people, diversity and inclusion, but not only gender, because inclusion is very, very important for many different kinds of characteristics, and leadership, and how you can combine all those things so people individually can be better, but also companies and organizations and communities can actually go into that. Fear is something that when it happens to us, we're just trembling. We're just like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable. You express yourself in a way that you're not like that in any other single moment. And this is because you're in a mode where it is fight or flight, and then the perceived risk that you see in front of you, real, unreal, doesn't matter, it makes you take decisions that in another case you will never do that. And that's the frightening thing about that. So the moment you see the fear, because we all are afraid of a number of things, either this is I know, a spider, or your boss, or your friends, or even yourself, the main thing you need to do is see the fear in the face, describe it, so the moment you describe, you understand what it is that you are afraid of, break it into pieces, and make it something that you are not afraid anymore, but it's a challenge, it's an obstacle. And from that point, you can actually think about, I take the fear on another stage where it's not so frightening, and then I can see what I want to do, and finally, I do. And out of all this analysis and too many hours thinking about that, what I have done in my life, talking with other people all these years, I found out that the magical element that helps you go through that and demystify fear is not being a victim, not feeling a victim of any situation. And we have all been in situations where I said, why did this happen to me? God, come on, it happens to everyone. It's how you react to that. So the moment you don't feel a victim, it's the moment you feel it's the best thing for you. Going back again to the things that happened to me is that I think 12 years ago we had to move from where we were with my family and move to Middle East. Everyone was saying about Middle East, oh my God, where are you going there, Eleni? They don't respect women, all that stuff. I said, oh my God, I'm gonna be smaller than what I was before. And I found out the moment I stepped in Dubai, which was not like what it is right now, but it was a completely different environment for me. I found out that although I was scared because everything was new, what for my family, for my relationship, my friends, my personality, my existence, because I just dropped everything when I left my hometown, it was a unique opportunity to redefine myself on everything. I can just create a new narrative for me. And I felt amazingly. It took me some time, but then I said, okay, now is the new me. Let's do some redefinition and let's create Eleni again from the beginning. But to do this kind of stuff, you need to have people around you. Because life is like a bullet train. Things are moving so fast, and all the time you are on this train and you don't see what's happening around. You don't remember people. You forget about moments which were pivotal about you. You forget even how you felt. But the moment you stop and you start thinking, what makes sense to me at some point? What changed the way I approach life, myself, or even things that you will never think of? What was the process? And I'll tell you one example that came to my realization many, many years ago that was a pivotal moment, but it stuck with me as I was writing now the today's speech and say, I need to share that with you because I think it also demystifies some other thing. 25 years ago, it was the first time I was moving out from a Japanese management company to a South African one. Complete change. I was very young, actually. That was the one thing. The second thing is that it was my first time to take a leadership role. And the third thing was that I had no idea about the new industry I was going into. But I am a risk taker. I love risk. So I was doing that, but at the same time, I was just married. I had just, stayed with a person I loved, I still love. And we were supposed to start having a family. In Greece, when you get married, no, you have to get a baby as soon as possible, because otherwise you're too old for that. And discussing with my husband in just 30 seconds, what should I do? He said, you're joking, go get it. And it was the moment I said that this person in my life didn't behave as a traditional husband partner. And this is the moment I realized that if I had to choose between a job and a partner, I would get the partner. Because a job, I can always get a job, but a partner, it's not easy. So that was a person that had a huge impact in my life. And this is where I say that get the people around you that can have this kind of impact on you. That's the power of one. And find the way to be this kind of person, where you have to be authentic, you have to be a giving person, you have to be someone who comes with politeness and kindness, but you are there when it's needed and make this a bigger thing for you, the community, the people that are around you. Be the one that gives power, because when you give power, you're getting back power again. So we talk about, human of many missions, which, by the way, I stole this quote, human of many missions. I stole it from Lewis Hamilton from Formula One. I love this guy, what he's doing. And it's a stolen one, but it expresses me so much that I said, this is the person I know. So we talked about how you can be a human of many missions, how to not fear anything, how life is a bullet train, and you can tell me, Eleni, okay, how we put all these things together? And I can tell you, there is not a magic recipe, but for me, the way I saw things being deployed in front of me and what I can actually apply, something that can make sense to me and I can remember, because I'm getting older as well, is that I have these 4 C's. These 4 C's help me go through everything and just check it, how it works. So first of all, curiosity. I love being curious. And people is great when they're curious, because when you're curious, you see life from a different approach. You don't try to be in that and say, okay, when it's all over, when are we going to finish? Let's stay in my safety zone. Let's stay in my comfort zone. No. Being curious opens up the way you see things. Courage. Have the courage to take a step ahead, even if you're so much afraid. Which courage is not the same as bravery. When you're courageous, you actually know what you're facing, but you want to go into that because this is a multiplier of confidence. If you are brave, you don't know where you're going to end. Take my word for that. Collaboration. We talked about the power of one, but no one can do everything on their own. They need to be together with other people. So think that you have one power here, one power there, one power there. The moment you bring them together, it's so logical, it's going to be humongous. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be really impactful. And the last but not least, it's the word commitment. Because no matter if you do the other 3 ones, if you don't commit to something, it's not going to happen. Let me tell you a story, very short one. So I was in Saudi Arabia. The moment I stepped in Dubai, Saudi Arabia was one of the countries I was going very, very often. I loved the country because I could see the change. So I remember the first time I had a meeting over there. It was in a company where it was completely all men. Actually, I was the first woman to go into this company and present. So they were all men, dressed very traditionally. I was like, what am I doing here? I went through that. The fun moment was there was no toilet for women because, of course, it was not there. So they had to find someone who was the security guy, stay out of the toilet, have his hands like that, and say no one is going there because I went in a men's toilet. From that moment, it took 4 years that I was on a stage addressing more than 1,000 women talking about empowerment because it was the year that women were allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. A huge moment. So if you told me 4 years ago, Eleni, women are going to drive, and they're going to be on their own, and you're going to talk about women empowerment and stuff, I would say, you're joking, it's not happening. But it happened, and the commitment of working on that and doing things properly, it finally delivered. So what we are talking about is find your force. Find your force, it's a mindset. It's not an action. I believe in action, but you need to believe it yourself. You need to see yourself that you're doing something where the strength, the force comes from inside to outside, and then everyone can understand. It's a mindset. It's something you need to respect, and you need to see that as an opportunity for you to grow, because that's the way that you can actually have an impact. And for that, the moment other people see that, you have the other people find their force as well. And if I had to put this a little bit in a more simple way and give, I wouldn't say a framework because this is BS, if I can say the word, but all about how you can actually put it on a piece of paper and say, I can understand how I can take this forward. There are 4 steps that make sense. My first one is earn your seat. Don't think only what you achieved in the past, because that were your capabilities, the way you're working, the way the world was around you. You have to think about your future wins. What you're going to do next. How you're going to really make yourself challenge and go into a new territory. This is where you find yourself being a human of many missions. So earn your seat. Break the mold. Stereotypes are everywhere. even within ourselves. Sometimes we like the stereotypes because we're very, very comfortable being the stereotypes. Think out of the box, think completely crazily, think in a way that may not make sense for others, but it makes sense for you. This is where you have to say to the fear, get out of my way. Widen the impact. Whatever you do, don't think only for that. This is a very small world, and it's not nice for you. It doesn't make you happy. It's not about if you do a lot or not, if you're famous. This is not the case. It's about how do you feel doing something which is so much narrow. So whatever you do, try to make it broader. Try to talk about it to other people. Try to get other people on board. And this is where the big ideas are being born. This is where you see other people coming with you. This is where the power of one becomes the power of many. And the last but not least is the pressure test. Whatever you do, try to see how it works. Because today may not work, but tomorrow may be better. And this is where you need to think that I made a plan. Let me unplan it. Let me replan it. And maybe other elements that are coming on that may give me more confidence, more visibility in how this can become my force, my identity that can actually represent me and also be something I feel very happy in my skin. So if I had to leave you with one thing today is that think of yourself. What is your force? In a way, what is the one thing that you wouldn't be afraid, if you were not afraid to do? And try to write down how you can actually find yourself to get this new approach, this new identity, how you earn your seat, how you break any stereotypes you may have from the past or from the current situation you are, how you make this bigger than just for you, and how you test it all the way so at the end it becomes better and better and you feel very comfortable with that. Thank you very much.